Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to keep it short, simple, and sweet. We're going to start with some standing work, getting into the shoulders and the spine, some gentle mobility, then into our hips, and we'll finish with some quadruped. I want to work on some nice spinal rolls, getting into that low back. Hopefully try to get a little neck mobility in as well. So let's get started. So we're going to start in the standing position, getting into our crocodile breath. I want to do a good 10 full inhale, exhale breaths. Minimum 8-second count inhale, 8-second count exhale. I want to start small with each breath, slowly expanding bigger and bigger so that by the time we get to that last breath, we're feeling that maximum amount of intake into that abdominal wall, trying to get it to inflate like a balloon. So we'll start with our nice big C shapes, hands below the ribs, above the hip bone. Thumbs are pressing into that low back musculature. Index fingers are wrapping around in order to press into that abdominal musculature. Also pressing into the side so that we can feel that side body musculature. And I want to feel that expansion pushing out and away into the hands with each inhale breath. So again, 10 slow inhale and exhale. As you breathe in, nice and slow, you may notice that tension building up into the shoulders and into the neck. I want to make sure that we don't shrug and hold that shrug as we exhale. I also don't want to push my shoulders down. I want to feel them soften and melt. And with each melt, exhale, see if you can maintain that melt on the inhale so that you're not building up into that shrug. And again, with each exhale, feel the shoulders soften a little bit more. That way we can keep that focus on the abdominal wall, building into that expansion through the side, front, and low back musculature. As we're getting into it, start to notice, especially in that low back where the thumbs are pressing in. Can you feel as much expansion on the right side into that right thumb as you can into that left side left thumb? Does one side move a little bit less, or maybe it doesn't move at all? And with that, can you bring some intention into your breath and specifically breathe into that thumb? Feeling that area that's not moving so well, can you get it to move even just a little bit? And again, continue to let those shoulders melt and relax with each exhale. We're going to let the hands drop down to the side. We're going to continue to breathe into that belly, abdominal, getting that expansion. But we're going to start to add in some pelvic tilts. So on our inhale, we'll let that movement, that breath move a little bit more into the belly so that the pelvis starts to tilt forward and we get a bit of sway in the low back. And then on the exhale, as we draw that navel up and in, we're scooping the tailbone. Again, continue to notice shoulders. I don't want to shrug and hold that shrug. I want to feel melt. Again, I also don't want to actively reach the shoulders down where I'm keeping tension in the shoulders. I want the shoulders to be fairly soft. With each inhale, see if you can get a little bit more tilt. With each exhale, can you get a little bit more scoop? Can you feel that tailbone start to move forward? Notice how I'm starting to kind of sit more into my hips. My knees are flexing just a little bit. We're now going to start bringing in our shoulders. So when arms are going to come down to the side, spreading the hands nice and wide. and spiraling the palms up to the ceiling. We're going to exhale as we shrug, spiraling the thumbs forward, rolling them all the way down to the floor, letting those shoulders roll forward. Continue to exhale as you reach those fingers away. Inhale, we're shrugging, spiraling the palms back up to the ceiling, and then actively reaching down, feeling the shoulder blades slide down the back. That's our inhale. Exhale, shrug, thumbs spiral down, hands reach forward. Inhale, opening the chest up as we reach the hands to the floor, palms spiraled up. Again, feeling the shoulder blades sliding downward on the back towards the back hip pockets. On our next inhale, as we're exhale, we're going to combine the pelvic tilt with the shoulder roll. As we exhale, rolling forward, we're scooping actively. Now I want to see if we can get that rounding through the upper back all the way into the low back. And then on our inhale, pelvis is spiraling or tilting forward, opening the spine up. Nice open chest. Good. So now we're going to come back to our starting point. Hands are at the side, palms spiraled up. Now we're going to get into those bowls of soup. So we're going to work one side shoulder at a time. Starting with that right hand, keep the hand spread as wide as you can, spiraling that thumb down as much as you can. See if you can feel some stretch. Maybe you get some popping or clicking or some crepitus feel in the shoulder. Opening up as we inhale, exhale goes to the other side. Notice how smoothly does the right arm spiral in and out compared to the left. My right shoulder, I feel pretty free. I get a lot more range. Doesn't feel super tight, especially up at the shoulder area. Left hand, I actually feel tightness at the thumb just with opening that hand up. And moving into internal, actually not too bad, but coming back, little tight, especially as I open up at that end range. So a little bit different on that right shoulder compared to the left shoulder. So I want to take note of those differences. As we're getting into it, we're going to start to let our arms level, rise up a little bit towards our shoulder level. As we're continuing with those spirals, I now want to actively reach away like I'm trying to touch the walls at our side. See if you can feel that like a gap, creating space in all the joints with that active reach away. And as we bring those arms so that they're even with the shoulders, we're now going to continue to spiral so that that shoulder blade starts to round forward. Notice how it creates that change in my spine. I'm no longer perfectly straight. I'm getting a little contorted, but I'm actively reaching away as I spiral. I want to start to feel that stretch moving into that upper shoulder area on the shoulder that rounds into the chest on the shoulder that's opening up. Again, how does this feel? Right side to left side. Now we're going to go ahead and drop all the way down to the floor. We're going to get into a nice wide V-sit. Hands are grounded behind. Pulling the tops of the foot back towards the shin, actively reaching the knee down to the floor. We're basically going to do those same bowl of soup action, but we're working on the hip. Nice inhale into our crocodile breath. Exhale, drawing that navel up and in towards the spine. I just want to feel those elbow pits spiraling out and away. I want to make sure that our shoulders not rounded forward on this. I want to feel them rounded back, reaching down into the floor as much as possible. On the next inhale, as you exhale, we're going to move those kneecaps out and away like we're trying to touch the floor on the outside of the body. Inhale, knees come straight up to the ceiling. Exhale, turning them in towards the floor like we're trying to touch the floor on the inside of the legs. Continue to actively reach the knees down to the floor. Actively pull the feet to the shins. The more active you are at the ankle and the knee, the deeper you're going to feel this mobility getting into those deep rotators of the hips. Notice, how does this feel? Right hip compared to left hip. I have a little bit more tension on internal rotation in my left hip. Both hips feel pretty good. I guess I feel a little bit of stretch in that same spot on my external rotation on that left hip. Now, I want to kind of go similar to our bowls of soup. I want to work one side. We're going to go oppositional. So as one leg is rotating out and away, the other leg is rotating in and away. We can be a little softer with the knees and the ankles at this point. This is going to kind of change the orientation of our hips as we move side to side. It's almost like I'm rolling into one hip and off the other hip. Again, notice, how does that feel? Getting into that deep hip socket, right hip compared to left hip. Again, my left hip, a little bit tighter in this adductor area, inner thigh area, than it is on my right side. Although I do have some tightness and tension on that right hip as well. All right, so now we're going to bring hands off the floor and we're going to get light into some forward folds. Want to keep hands and shoulders square together. So if we turn, I'm turning my shoulders and I'm keeping my hands square with the shoulders. That way I'm really isolating more in my low back. Otherwise, I can reach with my shoulders without actually getting much mobility work in that low back area. We're going to start by just nice, simple folds forward. I'm not concerned with how far we go. I don't want to go to pain. So it's just nice. Inhale into that crocodile breath. Exhale, navel draws into spine as we allow those hands to slide forward. Inhale brings us all the way back. As we're sliding forward, I want to avoid dropping my head straight down to the floor and getting my up rounding in my back. I want to keep the back as straight as possible and just let those hands slide forward. If all you're able to go is like an inch or two, then that is fine. We're going to keep working on it. And as we work on it, you're going to be able to get a little bit further and a little bit further. But it takes time. It's not going to happen in a single session. It'll happen over days, weeks, and months. So I want to be patient with our movement. This isn't about trying to fix everything all at once. As we're getting nice breath moving forward, we can start to work side to side, just deviating off that center line. Again, hands stay square with the shoulders, so the hands are moving and the shoulders are moving with. Inhale as it brings us back. Same thing to the other side. Notice, how does it feel on the right side, back of the legs, in that hamstring area, maybe back of the knee. How does it feel on the left side compared to the right side? Does it move a little easier in one direction? Is it a little tighter and more restricted in the opposite direction? As we're doing this, we can continue to open up wider and wider with our reach. My left side hamstring a little bit tighter than it is on my right. Now, at this point, I'm reaching all the way out to the heels on side to side. So I'm going to start to move back to the center line, but I'm going to change a little bit. I want to start to allow my knees to flex in the direction that I'm reaching, which will give me a little bit more reach, and it should change where I feel that we feel that stretch in the back of the thigh. Going side to side, let that knee lift a little bit, getting a little bend in it. And from there, we can start to bring our reach tighter and tighter towards the center line. How does this feel in that hamstring? Do you get a little bit more length in your reach? Is it getting you a little bit more specific stretch into one side hamstring compared to the other? Are you feeling it higher up in that hamstring, closer to the hip? As we get to our center line, we can just allow both knees to soften a little bit. Again, that should give us a little bit more range. Maybe you feel it a little bit more in that low back area. If so, do you feel it more on the right side low back or the left side low back? Again, where you feel that stretch, very relevant to building the map of how your body moves so that we can start to work on mobility in specific areas to bring better balance from side to side. All right, we're now going to flip onto hands and knees, and we're going to get into our frog position. So frog position, knees are wide of the hips, really as wide as you comfortably can get. Feet are drawn closer together. We're going to go with the ankles, the feet untucked, so the ankles are flat. On hands, I want nice grounded palms, extended elbows, not locked. From here, we're going to start with that nice belly breath or crocodile breath. Filling up that crocodile, that abdominal wall. Exhale, navel into spine. As we get some breaths in here, I want to start to work on our pelvic tilt again from this position. So nice inhale, pelvis tilts down to the floor, belly kind of opens to the floor. I want to make sure we avoid any pinch or pain in the low back. Exhale, we're lightly scooping, feeling that tailbone tuck. This should get into getting into those deep hip rotators. Once we get a good 5, even up to 10 breaths in this position, we're going to start to rock back. So I'm not doing the tilts quite as much. Exhale as we let the hips sink to our heels. Inhale as we bring it back up. Now, as we exhale, sinking hips to heels, lightly let that tailbone turn up towards the ceiling. Inhale brings it back. Once we get to 5 reps, when we sink into that into it, I want to get into light tension, not heavy tension, and we're going to stay at the bottom. And we're going to come back to that breath in pelvic tilts. Now the tilts are going to be a little tighter and more restricted, so don't try to move as far. Keep it small to start with. Get that. We're going to start with that inhale breath. Belly opens up to the ceiling, pelvis turns down to the floor. Exhale, drawing navel into spine as we scoop the tailbone. Inhale, filling up the belly. Exhale, nice scoop. Again, notice that stretch into those inner thighs. Is it bigger on the left side compared to the right side? We can then come back out of it. We're going to do a few more reps, letting the hips sink to heels, bringing it back up. On the 5th one, we're going to come to more to our to the top of this movement, And now we're going to work on lifting ankles up, getting into that rotation, into that hip. So nice inhale into our crocodile breath. On the exhale, allowing that ankle to lift up towards the ceiling. Inhale as we let it back down. Exhale as we lift the opposite side ankle. Oh, and left side's a little tighter, harder to do than the right side. So notice if one side feels tighter, more restricted, maybe you're just able to lift one side a little higher than the other side. This is a real good assessment for some imbalances in that rotation quality of the hips, which can be a pretty big deal when it comes to our gait mechanics. Oh, that left hip feels really good and juicy, but it's definitely a little tighter and more restricted. Once we get 5 back and forth, we're going to do 2 or 3 more just nice, gentle rocks forward and backwards. And then we're going to come out of this V-sit, or sorry, the frog, and we're coming into our shin box. So we're going to get some nice hip opening here. I'm in left side shin box. Left knee is down. Left hand is down on the outside of the hip, spiraling that elbow pit out and away. Allow that shoulder blade to slide down the back. Chest is opened up. We're focusing on that opposite knee. Nice inhale into our crocodile breath. Exhale, drawing navel up and in as we lift that knee up towards the ceiling. Inhale, letting it back down. Notice how this feels in the hip. How high are you able to get your knee moving as you move nice and slow, squeezing into that last bit of end range. I want to compare this to the other side. Since we've already done the V-sit and the frog, this should be a little bit more mobile than it usually is when we come to this earlier on in a session and we haven't really done a lot of hip mobility. My right hip is moving pretty free compared to just a couple days ago when we did this. After we do about 5 to 10 reps, nice slow transition to the opposite side. Grounding that palm, spiraling the elbow, weight is shifted so that front knee is down. Nice inhale into our crocodile breath. Exhale, navel to spine as we slowly open up that left or opposite knee. This side is tighter than it was on the other side. Although it's more mobile than it normally is when I start with this, just because of what we've already done, but definitely have more restriction. Top range can't quite go as high. It's maybe like 5–10% difference in range quality, which is fairly normal for my hips. Once we get 5 to 10 reps, we're going to transition back to the other side. And we're going to get into that back hip bowl with some hip extension. And then we're going to add in our rotation. So nice. This is where I want to imagine breath, that inhale breath having weight and feeling that weight move into that back hip bowl. That back hip drops, reaches to the floor. As we exhale, it lifts up, moves forward, and actively scoops into it, doing that pelvic tilt just on one side. I want to see if we can feel that nice stretch through the front of the thigh. Can we feel that glute tightening up and contracting on its own simply from that scoop? Inhale, releases the glute as the hip reaches to the floor. Exhale, lifts, moves forward, and actively scoops into it. Notice my upper body is not moving a whole lot. I don't want to have rotation in the shoulders. I want to be fairly fixed. Nice tall spine, packed shoulder, open chest, and just getting that back hip to move. Once we get 5 reps, on the 5th one, as you scoop, we're going to add in our reach with rotation. So I'm opening my hand, spreading those fingers wide, turning the palm up to the ceiling, extending that elbow out. I'm kind of reaching through the knee, extend the elbow fully, and then rotate to see how far can you get those fingers to extend. Inhale, we're unwinding, bringing that breath all the way into that back hip. Exhale, hip lifts, moves forward, scoops, spread hands, spiral palm, extend elbow, rotate. With each one, see if you can get a little bit further reach in those fingertips. You can also kind of start to push away lightly through that back knee as you're reaching through the fingertips. How far can you extend through that knee into those fingertips? And can you feel that nice winding up stretch into the hips, low back, even up into the shoulder? We'll go ahead and switch, moving to the other side. Again, grounded palm, spiraled out elbow, packed shoulder, tall spine. Weight is shifted so that front knee is down. Inhale breath into that back hip bowl. Exhale as it lifts, moves forward, actively scoops. We're just doing that breath into that hip to start with for 5 to 10 breaths. Notice if this hip is tighter, maybe it moves better. Generally, I find when we pick a side without thinking about it, our bodies naturally go to the side that moves a little bit easier. My left hip is tighter, more restricted. This is the more challenging side of my shin box. My other side is easier. And that's usually how I start. Sometimes I like to force myself to start the opposite, but if I let my body choose, it will always go to what is comfortable. That's fairly normal. So I have a lot more tension in this left hip. I got a little bit more mobility, although it feels looser than it normally does when I start with this, since we did the frog and the V-sit first. So sometimes, depending on how we pre-mobilize before we get into our shin box, can make a big difference on our shin box, which is why I like to cycle through. Sometimes I'll do some shin box, 3-4 reps just to get started, go do some other things, and then come back to it. And my shin box is a lot more mobile. Now we're going to add in our reach. Inhale into that back bowl. Exhale, scoop as we draw that navel in. Spread the hand wide, spiral the palm up to the ceiling, extend the elbow, add the rotation. Oh, and I got a little pop in my back right off the bat. This side, tighter hip and a little tighter in the rotation. I can feel it wanting to take my breath away. If you notice that you've got some breath hold, especially on rotation, slow down, get that hip extension, spread, and where you feel it wanting to take your breath away, slow it down and smooth out your breath. Make your intention to allow a smooth breath. I don't want to feel like I'm breathing through a straw where I'm forcing that breath out, and I don't want it to be a full hold where I hold my breath in order to push past. So if you're finding there's a breath hold, that is an important spot to slow down. Can we bring our breath back into it? And just by slowing down and adding breath, I'm feeling some interesting stretches, and it's already getting more mobile. Feels a lot looser than it did when we started. Transitioning back to the other side. We're going to get into our folds, and we're going to go ahead and just go straight into our side-to-side folds. I want to try to keep my folds relatively through the shin today. Way that's going to matter is depending on the angle of the knee. If that heel is tight to the body, the only way you're going to reach through the shin is to go this way. You're not going to get that much of a glute stretch. To get into the glute, you got to go this way, which doesn't take me through the shin. So I'd rather have that knee angle closer to 90 degrees. So that heel's got to be a little bit further out, and we're largely trying to reach through the angle of the shin. Inhale, bringing it back up. Exhale as we transition. Halfway through, inhale to finish the transition. Check that knee angle to try to keep that knee close to 90 degrees. Exhale as we softly fold through the shin. Inhale brings it back up. Exhale halfway through, bringing it to inhale. Knee angle open. Exhale as we fold. I want to go 5 up to 10. Nice, slow progressions back and forth. Again, check that knee angle with each one. Nice, slow exhale. And just like with that rotation earlier, I want to pay attention to our breath as we fold. Especially with this higher knee angle, you may find that it's more challenging, especially just with your posture, just trying to maintain balance. Your body might want to lean to one side. It might be a little harder to stay tall through the floor. If that's the case, then you're probably going to notice that there's some tension in your breath that's going to feel like holding your breath. So if you're feeling that, slow it down. Where you feel that breath hold, especially nice open exhale. Slow it down so that you can maintain that smooth exhale and you're not getting into that held or forced breath. Now, as we've gotten a few of these going side to side, we're going to start to open up the back knee, that shin box angle with the back knee. I still want to keep that 90 degrees in the front knee, but we're going to open that back leg up a little bit more. This may change that tension. It might make it harder, more challenging. If so, keep your range short and small. I'm more interested in movement quality than forcing it. Get a nice slow transition with a good inhale to exhale. Keep that knee angle as open as you can. We're going to continue to open up that back leg, getting closer and closer to a yoga class pigeon pose. Now you might find that with that knee angle open, as you slide that leg back, it's really hard to get into that fold. What may help is lifting the hips up, which is going to use your hands more, and letting the hips drop into the floor lightly, and then bringing the hips back down and moving side to side. This is less fold through the hands, but I want to keep that knee angle up. And as I get off the ground, that opposite knee may lift up. I want to try to slide my knee back and let the hips just soften to the floor lightly. I want this to be a light load into the hips, not a heavy load. I'm not forcing it. I'm not maximizing the stretch. I want it to feel good and juicy, not stressful. We're only taking it as far as we comfortably can. If you can't get that back leg this open, then keep it where you get to, where you're able to get to comfortably. That hip is tight and this is as open as you're able to go, or even less. Don't force it. Work with what you have. Working with what you have every day, moving through it slowly, will slowly open up that range of motion. It's a matter of like getting your body acquainted with a movement that it has not done in a while. The idea of if you don't use it, you will lose it is a true phenomenon, but the reverse is also true. If you start using it again, you will reacquire its use. You will open up and expand that range of motion. It may not be 100%, but you can definitely get improvements. All right, we're now going to come up back to our hands and knees, spreading hands nice and wide, grounding palms, extending elbows, tucking the toes. I want the knees directly under the hips, hands directly under the shoulders, and the toes actively tucked. We're going to get a little bit into our foot mobility. So nice inhale breath as we rock forward. Get a little bit of load into the wrists so we can also check the wrist mobility. Exhale, feel the hips sink into our heels as we push back. And I specifically want to feel the weight of our hips load into the big toe joint. Inhale brings us back forward. As we exhale, feel the tailbone lifting up towards the ceiling lightly as you load the big toe joint. And with each one, start to notice, how does this feel on that left big toe compared to the right big toe? My left big toe is tighter and more restricted, which kind of pairs with that tension through the adductor inner thigh area. But just getting into it lightly, I can already feel it opening up a little bit. It's still tighter, but I have a little bit more mobility just from doing a few reps. On the next one, as we come up, we're going to let those heels roll out and away so that we're really getting tucked underneath all the way out to the pinky toe. If you need to grab that pinky toe and pull it so it gets tucked underneath, then that is okay. You may find that the pinky toe just does not want to stay. That is something we want. Like, we want to improve that mobility in the foot to see if we can get all the way out to that pinky toe. Everything else is going to be the same. Nice inhale as we rock forward. Exhale as we feel the weight of our hips sink to heels, lightly turning that tailbone up to the ceiling as we sink into it. Again, notice if there's a difference, left side to right side. After we get a good 5 reps, we're going to come back up to the start. We'll sit a little bit into the feet just to create light tension, not heavy tension. And from here, we're going to do our windshield wipers. Let the heels roll all the way in so that we're getting into the big toe joint, and then all the way out to the pinky toes again. This one's a good one to notice. How does that left foot feel compared to the right foot? Do you feel more tension, more stretch, more tightness and restriction in the big toe, in the middle toe, in the pinky toe? Do you feel it more in the arch of the foot? Is it in the medial arch? Is it in the lateral arch? Maybe you feel some tightness and tension more in the heels or in that Achilles area. All of those are going to be relevant to kind of pay attention to. Now we're going to let those ankles go nice and flat. And we're going to do a few more rock backs, hips to heels. Now I'm really wanting to just get into the front of the ankles, also checking into the knees a little bit. So can those hips reach all the way to the heels? Inhale brings us all the way back up. How do those knees glide? How do the ankles feel? Are they flat to the floor, or is there a little bit of space? Is there more space on one ankle than the other ankle? Is one ankle tighter and more restricted than the other ankle? Again, those are relevant, incredibly relevant for our gait mechanics. And as we're sitting back into it, if you are able to get your hips all the way to the heels without pain, we can start to sit back on our heels. Again, loading into the ankle space, coming all the way forward, grounding the palms, rocking forward, inhale forward, exhale back. Once we've done 5, we're going to come back to our starting point, tuck our toes, and we're going to come back to some pelvic tilts with our breath, and then finish with spinal waves. So nice inhale into that belly. Let the belly drop forward. Pelvis is tilting forward so that we get that sway in our low back. Exhale, scoop. All I want is that movement getting up into the low back. So I'm not doing a full cat-cow. just pelvic tilts. Inhale, let that pelvis tilt to the floor. Exhale, scoop. See how much can you get that tailbone to scoop and reach forward. Can we maximize that stretch in the low back without going into pinch or pain or stress? And if you're feeling pinch, pain, or stress, then I want you to back off. Only move within the range of motion that you do not experience those. It might mean a smaller range of motion, but that is what we want. That is what we're going for. Finding where you can move well and not forcing beyond that, allowing your nervous system to feel safe with the movement will then get it to start to open up and expand a little bit more and a little bit more. As we're getting into this, we can now start to allow that movement to go further up the spine. As we scoop, continue to scoop. Let that movement move up into the upper back. As it gets to the shoulders, press through the palms. Feel those shoulder blades round over the top. Want to feel that stretch through the upper back? Then allow that movement to go over the top of the head. And we're trying to touch our tailbone to our forehead in this imaginary point right in the middle. Maybe you can start to feel that core light up on fire. And then inhale, tailbone or pelvis tilts to the floor. Starts to bring the spine to the floor. We're going to let that move up the spine as it gets to the chest. The sternum reaches to the floor and the head comes up last. Exhale, scoop, feel that wave move up the spine. Inhale, and you feel that wave move up the spine. And as you're moving back and forth, can you notice a particular segment of your spine where it feels tighter and more restricted? Maybe it doesn't move as easy. You have to kind of move through it or over it fairly quickly. Maybe it feels tight, sensitive, tender. If it's painful, I want to make sure you're slowing down and not pushing into elevated pain. I don't want to go above. I don't want to go into the 3 or above on a scale of 0 to 10. Good. We're going to now come back to a nice seated position. You can cross your legs. We're going to bring our arms back behind and ground palms to the floor, spiraling those elbows out and away. We're going to do a little bit of light neck mobility to finish things off. So I want to continue to breathe into that crocodile breath. Exhale, drawing the navel all the way up and in. And we're going to start with checking our blind spots. I want to keep this downward press through the shoulders so that the shoulders don't shrug as we're moving into our neck mobility. So actively pushing down into the shoulders, actively lifting the spine tall as you can. Start with our blind spot. So nice inhale, slow 8 to 10 second count. Exhale, slow 8 to 10 second count as we slowly look over the right shoulder. Slowly squeeze into it. Inhale as we come forward. Exhale as we go over the left shoulder. Squeezing into it. Inhale as we bring it back. Go nice and slow. We'll do 5 to 10 reps on each side. And notice, how does this feel? Right side of the neck, shoulder, left side of the neck, shoulder. One side tighter, more restricted. How much range do you have? Are you able to go as far on one side compared to the other? Good. Next, we're going to get into our light tilt and lift. So keeping the eyes forward, lightly tilting one ear towards the shoulder. This is not a heavy tilt, very light tilt. Opposite ear, we're lifting like we have a piece of string pulling that ear up to the ceiling, or just simply that we're trying to touch that ear to the ceiling. Inhale, centers the head. Exhale, lightly tilts to the other side. and lift. As you exhale and lift that right ear, actively press into that right palm to feel that shoulder drop as you're lifting to create a little bit more traction. Inhale, exhale, same thing to the other side. Little things you can notice on here. Do you get more downward pressure through the right hand as you lift the right ear up, or the left hand as you move the left ear up? My right hand feels easy to load down. I have good pressure through the shoulder. I get good traction, and the mobility on this right side is not too bad. My left side, though, I have some injury history with this left shoulder. The left shoulder is neurologically weaker, and I have some range of motion loss with pain. It's kind of a chronic issue. So my left shoulder is not as strong pressing down, and I have more tension when I lift my left ear up, and actually it feels harder to control. A lot more tension, especially kind of in the back line of that neck. Again, this is a kind of a part of my some chronic issues related to a lot of injury history. And this is kind of stuff that I want to assess for. There's not a lot that I can do based on the injuries that I've had to fix it, but I can do things to address it, to manage it, to keep it from getting worse, and often get some improvement in it. So it's important to work on these things, even if the goal is not to get it to be fixed, but just simply to maintain. And I feel that a lot on that left side today. Good. So we're going to finish. Let's come all the way back up to a standing position, since that's where we started. I want to finish with some standing crocodile breath. And part of the reason I want to finish with the standing today is, since we assessed it to start with, I want to see if we got a little bit better mobility in that breath. So making our big C shapes, thumbs in the back, index fingers in the front. And we're going to do 10 slow inhale to slow exhale again. Again, with each inhale, start small, filling up that abdominal wall like a balloon, but we're not trying to get as big as possible. Full exhale, try to get all of that breath out. And with each inhale, can you expand it a little bit bigger? As you feel that expansion through the abdominal wall, notice shoulders. I want to avoid allowing that tension into the shoulders, and then it stays there. If you notice tension in the shoulders, don't press the shoulders down. I don't want to add oppositional tension. I want to just let it go. I want to let it soften, let it drop. And with each breath, try to not to engage into that tension as much. And any tension that is there, continue to release it. And then the last part is come back and check into those thumbs in that low back musculature. How does that breath move right side into that right thumb compared to left side into that left thumb? And can you reflect back to the beginning of the class? Is it moving a little bit better on its own? Or even with your intention, just can you feel it moving more than you did at the beginning of the class? And hopefully that is what you are finding. And if that is the case, then I would suggest going through this particular type of movement practice every day in order to continue to get improvement in that. It will make a big difference in your breath and in your core, which will then give you better core stability for the rest of your body. When you're done, go ahead and let the arms relax. You can take a few more breaths in and out from this position, kind of shaking the arms out, shaking the shoulders out. Again, letting go of tension, kind of checking in with the neck. You can even get a little bit of just shaking it out into the legs, breathing into that belly, bring that breath into the ribs, chest, upper back. Again, start to shake it out, letting go of tension on the exhale. And when you're ready, you're already standing, so you're ready to get on with your day.